Join me as I dive into the wild stories of the most notorious outlaw who terrorized the Old West, and see if I can uncover the truth behind their legendary crimes. One of the most feared outlaws in the Old West was a man named John Wesley Hardin, a notorious criminal who left a trail of terror and devastation in his wake. In the late 1800s, the Old West was a lawless land where gunslingers and outlaws roamed free, and the rule of law was often non-existent. It was the perfect breeding ground for a criminal like Hardin, who had a reputation for being ruthless, cunning, and deadly. He was a master of manipulation, using his charm and good looks to get what he wanted, and he was feared by everyone from lawmen to rival outlaws. Hardin's criminal career was marked by a string of violent robberies, ambushes, and shootouts, which left a trail of dead bodies and destroyed lives in its wake. He was a ghost-like figure, always one step ahead of the law, and his very name sent shivers down the spines of even the toughest lawmen. His exploits were legendary, and his name became synonymous with violence and terror. As Hardin's notoriety grew, so did his ego, and he began to take greater and greater risks, always pushing the limits of what he could get away with. He was a chameleon-like figure, able to blend in seamlessly with his surroundings, and his ability to adopt different aliases and disguises made him almost impossible to catch. He was a shapeshifter, always staying one step ahead of his pursuers, and his legendary status was cemented in the minds of the people. One of the most notorious incidents involving Hardin was the killing of a sheriff in a small Texas town, which sparked a massive manhunt and brought him to the attention of the authorities. This was followed by a string of daring robberies and shootouts, which only added to his legend. He was a master of the quick draw, and his lightning-fast reflexes made him almost unbeatable in a gunfight. But Hardin's greatest asset was also his greatest weakness: his ego. He was a narcissist, always seeking to draw attention to himself, and his constant need for validation and recognition eventually became his downfall. He was finally caught in 1878, after a dramatic shootout in which he was severely wounded, and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. The arrest and imprisonment of Hardin marked a turning point in his criminal career, and he was eventually released in 1894, after serving 16 years behind bars. But his reputation as a deadly outlaw stayed with him, and he was eventually killed in a shootout with a lawman in 1895, bringing an end to his violent and bloody career. The legacy of John Wesley Hardin is a complex one, marked by both fascination and revulsion. He was a product of his time, a symptom of the lawlessness and chaos that pervaded the Old West, and his crimes continue to fascinate and horrify us to this day. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the wild stories of the Old West. What do you think about Hardin's influence on the era, and do you think he's one of the most notorious outlaws in history? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to check out my other videos on notorious figures from history.